some point we need to talk about money. Let me just quickly. The old money, this is the old issue of this. Here's a new issue. The old issue had his birthplace on the back. And the new issue has a dumb painting by his mother. Who's his mother? She's the woman on the 50,000 one.
They made a drama about it.
This is Yule Boat. And I'll tell you in detail about Yule Boat somewhere along the line. But anyway, the money's... What's that? When we go to Andong, we'll visit this place. We'll visit his home. His meaning this guy.
The old one was a lot better.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on that one.
Anyway, so the old money. Here's the new money. Here's the new one, and here's the old one. The new one has this astronomical thing on the back, and the old one has this nice palace thing on the back. I like this one better, frankly. Frankly, as if that makes any difference. That's called the Gyeonghaeru.
This one right here.
Instead of his birthplace.
Now it's the kingdom of the daughter.
I am so cheating.
She's the mother of the 5,000 one note. The 50,000 one note is the mother of the 5,000 one note. Is that cool or what?
So cool.
Young,
So cool.
Kyohei. In little, it's the same character as Kyohei, meeting. Kyung is to congratulate or to be joyous, so it's the happy meeting palace. Or Ru means a building that's more than one story tall, and it's often translated as a tower, although it's not really a tower if it's only 2 stories tall. But they often translate Ru as a tower. Do you know of any other Ru? Who has seen the movie Chunhyang?
I have.
Remember when that movie starts out, he goes up on the upper floor of a building?
Mm-hmm. And then he sees her on the swing.
That was the, what is it? Something Hanlu. That's also a Ru. Ru, man, that means a tall building. In the old days in Korea, Koreans never built 2-story buildings, but Chinese did. And you go to any Chinese restaurant, it's a 2-story building. You go upstairs and eat in a Chinese restaurant, and the Chinese restaurants are always something Ru, meaning a tall building. That's the Gyeonghaeru. Okay. This building here, there used to be a sign out in front of this building right here that says, "This was where King Sejong invented the alphabet." Now they've taken that sign down, but we still think that this might have been it was either this building or one of these buildings in the back here where King Sejong invented the alphabet. Now, you all know about the alphabet, right? No, it was in this building in front of the Gyeonghaeru. Yeah. It would have been in one of these buildings that were half palace, half government, because government officials couldn't walk into the palace, but they could come back to this building and a couple of buildings here I'll show you in the middle. But basically, the government officials were out in front. You know where we were walking, where the water was spouting up in the American Embassy and the Sejong Cultural Center? That's called the street of the 6 ministries. 6 ministries. Korea had 6 ministries, and the 6 ministries were borrowed from China, and all the government affairs took place out in front of the palace. You see, government and palace are different. You see, government is appointed by the king, but the king never changes. And we always tend to think of government, including our president, as all government. But in a pre-modern society, government is government and the king is the king. And the government serves the king as well as serves the people. So they are separate things, you see. And the government would nominate things to the king, and the king would say, yes, do this, do that, and then the government would carry it out. So the first ministry of the 6 ministries, the first ministry is the Ministry of Governmental Affairs. So the first ministry is government taking care of government, okay? The second ministry is ritual. And modern Koreans, when they say the Ministry of Ritual, they say the Ministry of Education, because the Ministry of Ritual supervised the important education system that would determine who passed exams and who could get appointments to stand in front of the king, in these right here in the courtyard. So the second ministry was ritual. The third ministry was finance, but it was called the ministry of households. How do you get finance out of households? Households means census, in other words, counting households. Census means taxation, so you get money, and taxation is your finance. So the ministry of households is also called the ministry of finance, because households, census, taxation, finance. You see how that works. So that's the third ministry. The fourth ministry was war, or military affairs. The fifth ministry was punishments, or what do we call the ministry of punishments in our government? Justice. And the sixth ministry was what? What's left out? What's the sixth ministry? What is the sixth thing?
Foreign affairs.
Foreign affairs was under ritual. Agriculture and trade is pretty close. This is public works. Public works means building this palace, building roads, dams, reservoirs, irrigation systems, government buildings in the local areas. So public works, and people had to pay taxes in money and in labor. And where you paid labor was at the Ministry of Public Works. And every county would have a project. We need to go out and redig the canals for irrigation. We need to go out and build a bigger dam for the reservoir. And on 1 month a year, when the crops are all in and everybody has a bit of free time before the harvest in the middle of the summer, everybody would be taxed to go do public work. And everybody would get out and dig and work. Commoners would do this. Yangban were exempt from taxation and were exempt from labor taxation. There's a word for labor taxation. What's it called? You know this word, if you run into the word for taxation by labor? It's called corvée. It's a French word, corvée, C-O-R-V-E-E, corvée. And so people would have to pay labor tax, in other words, due labor, and that was supervised by the Ministry of Public Works.
So taxes would go through finance and public works? It's like the house.
Yeah. Public works would be the physical labor, and taxation would be in finance. Yeah. Okay. So.
Wait, never mind, I answered my question.
Okay. So the ministries of work would be out in front of the palace, and then when the officials had to meet with the king, there were a few set of buildings. There were a couple behind here, and this one were where the king and the officials could meet together for discussions between the king and the government. Other than that, the king was separate. The king would live in the palace, and behind here, with the queen and the royal family, you can have royal family up to third cousin inside the palace. And from fourth cousin on, you move out of the palace again, and you can become eligible to take the exam. When you're a member of the royal family, you can't take the exam. You're considered royal, not governmental. After you reach a certain degree of kinship beyond fourth cousin, you can move out, and then you can take the exam, and your children can take the exam again. Okay? Yeah.
Did the work that they had to do that was mandatory, did it also include the army service that they had to do?
No, that was separate. Yeah.
Was it 2 years then also, or no?
They had a full-time army, a professional army, and there were people who were assigned to be provisioners of the army. That is to say, who takes care of the army? Well, there were some people who pay a tax directly to that soldier. And I don't know if it was 5 to 1. I think it was 5 to 1. 5 provisioners would take care of one soldier. So there's a very elaborate taxation system. You know, our country is really unique. We have the right wing in America that says no taxes. You know, taxes are too high. Around here, Koreans think, hey man, taxes are really low, and they're about the same rate because they're lower now than they were back in the old days. You know, and so it's a matter of perspective. Korea has a positive attitude about government. You pass the exam, you're a high government official, that's a big deal. In fact, in the old days, that's all there was. I mean, that was the highest ranking thing you could find. Later on, I'll tell you about the examination system. We'll talk about the civil exam and the military exam, the miscellaneous exams. I'll tell you all about the examination system, but that's on another day.
What are the animals on the
On the roof line? there are animals on the roof line. Those are all stylized Sonogong. Sonogong was the magic monkey of the Journey to the West out of Chinese literature. And it was assumed that that monkey could spread the word of danger and could put out fires. Son Ogong. Son Ogong. Son Ogong. Yeah, the magic monkey of the Journey to the West. The Journey to the West was the name of the folk tale from China that talked about Sonogong. Sonogong had all these magical powers, and so if you've got a palace and you want to protect it, it's good to have Sonogong up there. And all the different representations are different representations of the same monkey, the same guy. But you're asking about some of the animals on the posts around here?
Yeah.
Those are all zodiac animals. Well, not all of them. The one on the higher level on this corner over here, those are hete. And hete are very good animals to have at a palace because they can swallow fire. Hete. They can swallow fire. Hete. That's that guy right there. Those guys right there. Now, you see, Hechi is the modern expression of that. Kind of a gargoyle. They're magic. Yeah. And you see right there's a chicken, and over there are monkeys. That's clearly a monkey on that thing. Those are zodiac animals. And the tiger's on the other side. Do you know the zodiac animals?
Nah.
Shachukin no Jinsa Omishinyu Sure. You should memorize that. Shachukin no Jinsa Omishinyu Sure. It's Musin D. And the high school girl at your ward or branch comes up to you and says, Changnane, Michanayo, Musin Tieyo. Yeah. What T are you? Yeah. Are you Malti? I'm Ketti. You're Dakti. You're Yangti. You should all know what D you are, what zodiac animal. There are 12 of them. We'll find it for you later.